Welcome to Follow Your Curiosity, where we explore the inner workings of the creative process. I'm your host, Nancy Norbeck. Hey there, Nancy Norbeck, back with this week's Creative Pep Talk. And this week's talk is something based on part of my conversation with Tom Colgan that you may have heard of by now. And it's just the idea that you should do it anyway. Right? When I was talking to Tom, I was reminded of how surprised I was as an incoming MFA student who had always been very good at things like grammar and spelling and punctuation, to hear our program director say in one of our first meetings that if we had trouble with things like that, it was on us to get somebody to proofread our work before we turned it in for each packet that we sent to our advisors. My immediate thought was, how on earth are you here if you can't do these things? Because it had never occurred to me that they might not actually be necessary to producing good writing. That was when I started to realize that no, actually, your ability to produce good grammar and to spell everything perfectly doesn't mean you can't tell a good story. Doesn't mean that the sentence you string together isn't doing everything that it needs to do. It may need a little correction, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad sentence. It doesn't mean that your story is bad. It certainly doesn't mean that you are bad. But a lot of us take things like that as signs that we are not meant to do the things that we feel called to do. I know that there were people in my program who had those issues, because if there weren't, there would have been no need for the program director to say anything. I don't know who they were. That's none of my business. I guarantee you that there are authors that you know and love that have trouble with these things. I have no idea who they are, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't name names even if I did, because again, it's none of our business. The fact is, they sat down to answer their creative call when other people decided to pull themselves out of the pool of potential talent because they thought that that one issue, or maybe a couple of little issues, regardless, was enough to disqualify them. They disqualified themselves. You need to do your work anyway. You need to create the things that you feel called to create, because I guarantee you, if you feel called to create them, there is someone out there that needs to experience them. They need to see them, hear them, read them, understand them, take them in whatever form you happen to do creative work, because they need your voice. They need the validation that your work will provide. They need the amusement that they will appreciate. There are ways to take care of things like editing problems. That's why editors exist. And I'll tell you what, every good writer still needs a good editor, because none of us can catch our own stuff. So go and do it anyway. It's important. We need you. We need your voice, and you need to answer that call for your own sake. Think about how awful it must be and how much regret there is, and you may have experienced some of this, in that feeling of watching somebody else do the thing that you've always wanted to do and knowing that you haven't done it. It's no fun. If you feel jealous of somebody for their writing, their singing, their acting, whatever it is, if you have that full body feeling that you should be doing what they're doing, listen to it, because you should be doing what they're doing on whatever scale it happens to be, whatever form is achievable for you. Just go do it anyway. We need you, and you need you. And I will be back with some suggestions for how to make that work better next time. But in the meantime, if you need some inspiration, I invite you to go to your journal and think about what's holding you back. Ask yourself, what's holding me back from doing the things that I know I'm here to do, that I'm supposed to be doing? And then listen to the answers that come up and ask yourselves which ones are really insurmountable and which ones you only think are insurmountable. You might want to ask somebody else for a second, hopefully more objective view of what's insurmountable and what isn't, to help you see through the blind spots that you may have about this. Either way, do it anyway. And if you need a little extra inspiration, there is a great Ben Folds 5 song by that very name. And I invite you to go check it out because it will make you feel like you can take on the world. So think about it, listen to the song, and I'll see you next time. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to get in touch on any of my social platforms or even via email at nancy@fycuriosity.com and tell me what you loved. And if you're feeling a little bit less than confident in your creative process right now, and you haven't yet signed up for my free email series on 6 of the most common creative beliefs that are messing you up, please check it out. It'll untangle those myths and help you get rolling again. You can find it at fycuriosity.com, and there's also a link right in your podcast app. See you there, and see you next week. Follow Your Curiosity is produced by me, Nancy Norbeck, with music by Joseph McDade. If you like Follow Your Curiosity, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to tell your friends. It really helps me reach new listeners. Thanks.